Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome back. This is lesson 4, where we begin to study the consonants of the Devanāgarī alphabet. Before we begin studying the consonants, let's quickly recap the vowels that we learned from the last 3 lessons. This is a quick chart of the vowels: a, e, u, r, l, e, o. If you have any trouble recognizing or writing any of these letters, please stop and review either lessons 1, 2, and 3 to learn how to write the letter you're having trouble writing. With that being said, let's begin our study of the next branch of Devanāgarī letters, which is the consonants. Now, when you're learning a language, people often take the definition of a vowel and consonant for granted. People don't know why a vowel is a vowel, and people don't know why a consonant is a consonant. So as I defined in lesson 1, a vowel is something that can sustain itself, that does not require any direct articulation in the mouth. It may not seem very intuitive with the r and the l letter, but for all the other letters, it was pretty obvious. You got e, u, o. You can continue that sound indefinitely. That is not the case with consonants. And with consonants, you actually need some kind of direct action in the mouth. Whether it's making a very hard puff sound using your throat, such as k, g. Whether you're using the palate to swipe your tongue off, ch, j. Whether you're using your tongue and curling it to produce a retroflex letter like d, d. Or using your tongue and having it touch the teeth like da, da. Or using your lips and making sounds from the action of both lips. P, b. But the point is, you can see that all of these letters, you can't sustain for very long. If I were to ask you to say the letter K, make a K sound, and sustain as long as possible, you won't get very far. The best you'll do is go K, K, K. That's it. You can't extend that sound unless you have a vowel added to it. So those are the 2 major properties of consonants, is that they require some discrete action of some component in the mouth, whether it's the tongue, the roof, the palate, the teeth, what have you, and it cannot sustain its own sound. So in Devanāgarī, we have 8 major categories of consonants. The first 5 consonants are based off of where the sound is originating from. And as I mentioned earlier on, it goes from the throat all the way to the lips. In Devanāgarī, we have 8 major categories of consonants. The first 5 are more discrete in nature. The first of the first 5 is the Gutturals, which we'll study in this lesson, where the sound is produced from the throat. Next lesson, we learn the palatals, where the sound comes from taking the tongue and swiping it off the palate. Then we will learn the retroflex letters, where you take your tongue and you curl it to strike the roof of the mouth. Then the dentals, where you take your tongue and you strike it on the teeth. And then we'll learn the labials, which is produced by using both lips to make the sound. Then we'll learn about the semivowels, also known as approximants. These are consonants that have vowel-like properties. However, since it requires direct articulation, they can't be called vowels. Then we'll learn about sibilants, or sounds that have a hiss to it. And then finally, the aspirate, the sound that requires full breath. So as you can see, the general trend for the first 5 rows at least, it starts from the throat, and after you go through each row, it moves upwards and upwards and upwards until you get to the lips. Now, each category in Devanāgarī is known as a varga, and the name of the varga is based off of the first consonant of each row. So for example, the Gutturals will be known as ka-varga because the first letter in that row is the letter ka. Now, within each category, there are 5 consonants. The first consonant is a voiceless consonant, which means you don't require the voice to produce a sound. The third consonant is a voiced consonant, which means that you do need your voice to make that sound. The 5th consonant is a nasal element, which I'll talk about later in this video. And the 2nd and 4th consonant of each row are aspirates of the 1st and 3rd consonants, respectively. Now, this is a lot of terminology, and this may seem overwhelming, but I think the best way you'll understand it is when you see the consonants, when you see the sounds in action. So without further ado, let's begin. So this lesson we're discussing the gutturals, or the kanthya consonants. This is the first category of 5 letters, and as I mentioned before, this is called the ka-varga because the first letter of this row is ka. And because they're gutturals, each letter is produced by direct articulation of the throat. So here are the 5 consonants we're going to study today. Ka, which is voiceless, because if you try to say the letter ka, k, you don't use your voice. The next letter is ka. This is an aspirated voiceless. Aspirated means you put more breath into it. So instead of saying ka, you say ka, ka. You should feel a lot of breath coming out when you say ka. The next letter is ga, ga. It is a voiced letter because if you try to say the G sound without any vowel, you will need your voice. G, g, g. Therefore, you do need the voice to be able to pronounce the G sound. G, g. The next letter is ga, ga. You should feel more breath because it's an aspirated version of the letter ga. And the last letter is the nasal element. I'll talk about that pronunciation when we get to writing this letter. So just to reiterate, all of these sounds come from the throat. Ka, ka, ga, ga. And now we're going to study how to write the letters. So this is the first letter of the Devanāgarī alphabet, ka. Let's learn how to write this letter. To do so, you need to make a sideways S shape. Then you need to put a vertical line bisecting the S shape into 2 portions. And then you're going to top it off with a horizontal line on top of the vertical bar to make it look like a T shape is bisecting that sideways S. And that is how you write the letter ka. Ka. The proper pronunciation of this letter is ka. It's not ka, as in the English pronunciation. It is ka. It is not aspirated. The word skate. Skate. If you take out the S sound and use the same force that you use to say the word, say the letter K in skate with, you get kate. Kate. The next letter is ka. Ka. This is an aspirated letter. And as a general rule, when you see transliteration in Devanāgarī, the letters that have an H after the consonant indicates that it has an element of aspiration to it. To write the letter ka, you start off with writing a vertical line, then moving slightly to the left, and then swinging outwards to arch to make almost like a semicircle. Then, right into that arch, you draw a circle. Next, you take the circle that you just drew and you draw a vertical line to the right, having it touch that circle on the far right portion. And then finally, you connect the 2 vertical lines of the letter ka with a horizontal crossbar. And that is how you write the letter ka. Now the proper pronunciation of this letter is ka. Ka. If you put your hand in front of your mouth, you should feel a big puff of air. Ka. The best example for this pronunciation is say the word rock hard. Rock hard. The combination of the CK in rock and the H in hard. If you say that together, you get the proper pronunciation for ka. Rock hard. Ka. 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 So the next letter is the letter ga. Ga. To write the letter ga, you're going to start off with a vertical line, and it's going to go down and loop into itself. Then you're going to draw a horizontal line connecting that top part of the vertical portion of the letter ga that you just drew. And then to the right of the first vertical line that you drew with the loop, you're going to draw a vertical stick. And that is how you write the letter ga. The next letter is ga. Ga. To write the letter ga, you need to draw a backwards 3 or a curved E shape. You're going to take the top arm of the curved E shape and fuse it to a horizontal bar. And then finally, you're going to draw a vertical stick to the right in which it connects the bottom arm of that 3 shape to the stick. And it will intersect with the horizontal bar to give you the shape of ga. Ga. Now to properly pronounce the letter ga, simply take the phrase dig hard. Dig hard. If you were to take the G in dig and the H in hard and put those together, you'll get the pronunciation of the letter ga. Ga. Dig hard. Ga. And finally, we hit the 5th letter of this category. This letter is pronounced as nga. Nga. It is not unga. You're trying to say the N in words like song or long. You're ignoring the G, but you're just keeping that nasal element. So when you say bank, that ng sound in bank is what this letter represents. If you want to say wrong, that ng sound in wrong is what this letter represents. It is the nasal letter for guttural consonants. So when you say words like bank, or wrong, or song, rang, that nasal element that comes right before the guttural letter is what's represented by this letter nga. Nga. Just to give you an idea where the sound comes from, it starts from the throat, but it kind of meets with the nose to give it a nasal sound. It's pronounced as nga, nga. To write the letter nga, you simply draw the letter S. On the top right portion of that S shape, you're going to draw a dot. You're going to connect the top part of the S shape upwards with a small vertical line, and you're going to meet it in center with a long horizontal line. So let's review the consonants that we had today. Ka, ka, ga, gha, nga. Ka, ka, ga, gha, nga. Make sure you practice these letters. Make sure you're very proficient with how to write these letters and that you can recognize them if you were to see them. Because in the next lesson, we're going to introduce 5 more letters to our alphabet. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment here and I'll try to answer your question as efficiently as I can. Till we meet next time, thank you very much for your attention. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.